Let's now speak to energy expert Chris Yelland. Good evening, Chris. Thanks so much for joining us. So this matter continues in court. It's the first court appearance of former Eskom boss Matsela Koko. You may have heard that clip where he says, those people accusing me, they're just setting themselves up for failure. He's always been full of righteous indignation, saying that he has done nothing wrong. Listening to the investigating directorate and reading through the charge sheet, it is a very long list. Allegations of corruption and fraud and money laundering amounting to 2.2 billion rand. That's an astonishing amount of money. When you look at today's developments in court, and obviously a person is innocent until proven guilty, but how significant is today for you, Chris?
Well, today has been a long time coming, and Mr. Koko, Mr. Anash Singh, Mr. Brian Molefe have been deeply implicated in corruption and money laundering and fraud, both in the case of Koko, in the case of Molefe and Singh at Transnet and at Eskom, and in the case of Koko, his days at Eskom. It's been a long time coming, and I think there are many people in South Africa who are happy that he will be having his day in court. He'll have a chance to present his own case, and the charges against him, there will be evidence led against him. Ultimately, the judge will decide. So I think Mr. Koko should be happy that he is having his day in court, and I think the public should be happy too that this has finally come to pass.
It does give us a glimpse into the scale of alleged state capture at Eskom, just in this particular case, Kusile, which, in fact, if I recall, last week was completely offline for a period, and allegations that things were just not done right around Kusile.
Well, we know that there have been massive cost and time overruns at Kusile, to the extent that it has seriously damaged the progress of this project. The levels of fraud and corruption and maladministration and mismanagement at a project level, are legendary. And I think there will be books written on this project. What we are seeing today is just a small part of it. And we've heard about other parts of it too. The whole Tegeta, Gupta, Optimum Colliery debacle, in which Mr. Koko has played a leading role according to the evidence before the Zondo Commission and the findings of the Zondo Commission, who recommended that he should be criminally prosecuted. And now he is. So this is just the tip of an iceberg. And the scale of it, as you pointed out, around 2 billion rand, can give you an idea of the scale of the ultimate frauds and money laundering and corruption that has taken place at Kusile, and of course not only at Kusile, throughout the Eskom organization. So it is an important day today, and I think it is just the beginning. Molefe and Singh have not been charged yet for anything at Eskom. They've been charged for their nefarious roles at Transnet. But the same people that were criminally implicated in Transnet have been criminally implicated at Eskom too, and I believe that their day will come for the charges that they will face at for their time at Eskom as well.
And such an irony, Chris, that proceedings in court today were interrupted at times due to load shedding, which of course just interrupts everything. And if even half of the allegations around state capture at Eskom are true, it's no wonder we're sitting in the situation we are in. But we're also hearing today from Eskom that we have critically low emergency power reserves, which means we're going to go into the weekend and continue through the weekend on various stages of load shedding. What does it actually mean that we are critically low on emergency power reserves?
Well, to operate the power system with any degree of confidence, one needs to have, at all times, even while you are load shedding, you need to maintain a certain amount of emergency reserves. Eskom tried to maintain about 2,000 megawatts of emergency reserves at all times, even during load shedding. So when they say that they're running critically low on emergency reserves, it means they're eating into that 2,000 megawatts. And it means that the likelihood of another stage of load shedding, is likely. In order to maintain that 2,000 megawatts of emergency reserves. The point is that they can't do the kind of maintenance that is necessary because you need to shut down operating plant in order to do that maintenance. So people who say that Eskom can somehow miraculously increase its energy availability factor from currently about 56, 57% up to 75, 80% within 2 years are just dreaming. It is physically impossible to raise the average energy availability factor of a fleet of 90 generators in 2 years from 65% or 55% to 85%. It's physically impossible because of the time taken to do the work, the fact that you have to shut down generators to do the work. You can't do it all simultaneously. And the bottom line is we don't have the generation reserve. So that when you shut down units for maintenance, it doesn't improve the energy availability factor. It actually makes it worse in the short term. And when I talk about short term, I'm talking about 2 to 3 years while they address the problem of the fleet. So this is going to be continuing for some time until we can first bring on a massive new generation capacity to fill the hole, which Eskom have said is about 6,000 megawatts. Not only that, but we need to rebuild that generation reserve margin. We also need to cater for economic growth, and we also need to cater for the fact that about 11,000 megawatts is going to be decommissioned by 2030 and a further 11,000 megawatts decommissioned by 2035. That is the hole that's got to be filled. And until we get that new generation capacity coming on stream in a massive way, we're not going to be able to do anything through maintenance and improving the energy availability factor.
Now, at the same time, of course, yesterday in the mini budget, we heard that 1/3 to 2/3 of Eskom's 400 billion rand debt is going to be taken on by government, which will, of course, free Eskom up a little bit to perhaps do what it needs to try and deal with load shedding. But also we're hearing today that there's 9 billion rand coming our way. It is a loan from the World Bank, but it's a low-cost loan, we understand. And that's specifically to replace coal-fired stations with renewable stations. Is this all good news, or does it actually present another challenge in a very challenging time for Eskom?
Look, the point is that Eskom has to rebuild new generation capacity in any case. So whatever happens, they have to replace these coal-fired power stations that are being scheduled for decommissioning. So the fact that development finance institutions, whether it is the World Bank, whether it is the American, the French, the UK, the German, or the European Union, are prepared to extend loans at preferential rates. Some of the money is also grant funding, which does not have to be paid back. And that which does have to be paid back is at a lower than market rate. You would be looking a gift horse in the mouth to decline these preferential rates because you're going to have to borrow the money anyway. So I think it is good news that countries are prepared to help us through our energy transition, a transition that is in progress and is going to have to accelerate, and it's going to have to happen, whatever happens, we're going to have to do it. So let's get on with it.
Let's get on with it indeed. Thank you so much for chatting to us this evening, energy expert Chris Yelland.